All right, good evening. It's 7 p.m., May 8th, 2025, and I'd like to welcome everyone in the room and those who are participating online as I call to order this meeting of the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Board of Education for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. We value everyone's input and have made sure to dedicate a portion of this meeting to hear from you. With that, there's a sign-in sheet right up there by the front door for anybody who's wishing to speak tonight, and we look forward to hearing your comments during that time as it's indicated on our agenda. So, Mr. Godden, will you please call the roll?
Sure. Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mrs. Dawn?
Here.
Mr. Kinsey?
Present.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Dr. Pryor?
Present.
5 present.
All right, we have a quorum. If you're able, will you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. As always, we start off with the treasurer's report.
My first request is approval of minutes for the meeting of April 10, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Dr. Pryor and then Mrs. Anderson. Anybody have any questions or corrections? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Dr. Pryor?
Yes.
5 yeses. My next request is approval of April 24, 2025 board minutes.
So moved. Second.
Dr. Pryor, Mrs. Anderson. Same question. Please call the roll for acceptance.
Mrs. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Abstain, I was absent.
Dr. Pryor?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 abstain. My next is the April 2025 financial statements for review and approval.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Dorn and then seconded by Mrs. Anderson.
So we're 83% of the year's over, and if you look at our revenues and expenditures, they are in line. The only big ones are real estate taxes. We got more in real estate taxes this year, and that's because we had $1.3 million in delinquent property taxes that were collected in February. So it's not like our taxes went up, it's just we had a big delinquency that was collected this year. So our taxes ended up being 107% of what we anticipated, which is a good thing. And then our other expenditures are on the high end, and that's because if more taxes are collected, then the county audit and treasurer fees are higher, and that's what makes it higher. Except for everything's in line.
It's moved to accept by Mrs. Dorn, seconded by Mrs. Anderson. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn.
Yes.
5 yeses. My next request is for approval of amendment to 2025 permanent appropriations. There's a couple of changes. One's to bond retirement fund for $2,651, and then principals fund for $100,000.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Anderson, then Mrs. Dorn.
The bond retirement fund increase is because of audit and treasurer fees. They were higher because we collected more, and we had some expenditures coming out of principals fund that were not budgeted previously, so that's why.
Please call the roll for acceptance.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey.
Yes.
5 yeses. My next recommendation is the 5-year forecast for the district.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Dorn, then Mrs. Anderson.
I have hopefully a short presentation. Didn't expect so many people showing up to hear about the 5-year forecast, but that's a good thing.
We know it's great to have people here to celebrate our student athletes and valedictorian. We knew you wouldn't come for this, so we're going to make you sit through it just for a few minutes. Thanks for humoring us.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here. Congratulations to all the students and the retirees. So 5-year forecast is required by the state of Ohio. We're required to have the initial one in November, and this is an update to the initial November forecast with 10 years of actual data for 10 months of actual data for 2025, and then we have next 4 years from 26 to 29. Also, if you look at the actual 5-year forecast, it will have past 3 years of data. So the objective of why we do a 5-year forecast was to engage community and board communication about district's finances, where we stand. 412 certificates, that's required by me as a treasurer. I'm certifying that, yeah, we have the funds available to take on any projects, any big projects, whether it's salary, whether it's appropriations, or any big HVAC project or anything. Then it also tells us, does the district need any new levies in the future? Also, it's a good foundation for the next year's budget, just for the general fund. And why the state requires us is because Audit of State and the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce uses it to monitor our finances. If we're not doing financially well, they might put us in financial emergency. Thankfully, we're not in that stage. So here are the revenues. I'm not going to go over the numbers. The one big thing I want to talk about is line 11.020, which is property tax renewal. Emergency levy will expire in 2027. So the levies are collected 1 year after that. So in 2028, December 21, 2028, 31st, is when the last collection will be on this. So any further levies, it has to be renewed by the voters, and that's why it shows up on line 11.020. And if you look at the property taxes, there's a significant drop from 28 to 29 because the levy has expired and it's going down. And it's only half a year so it will be $3.3 million if we have 1 full year without the levy. Here's our projected revenues for this year. Majority of them are property taxes. There were numbers over there, they're missing. 69% are local property taxes, 23% is state funding. So, as you know, we rely on our property taxpayers for most of our funding to the school district. Here's another view of the general property taxes. So, most of the time when the valuations happen, our common theme is like, hey, my valuations went up by 20%, my taxes will go up. And this graph shows that's not the case. The golden line is actually how much the values went up by. Like if you look at 2024, that was after our last appraisal, the values went up by 27%. Our property taxes only went up by 3.8%. And that's because the state law reduces the actual tax rate. There's a reduction factor that kicks in. So if my value goes up by 20%, my tax rate should go down by 20%, if I'm on the average. Now, if I'm more than the average, then my taxes will go up some. So as long as I'm average increase or decrease, my property taxes stays the same. So that's the only exception you see is in 2025, this year, and that's because of the delinquency collection, because it's so significant to our property taxes. It looks like we collected, the actual increase is less than the collections, but that's not the case. And then 27 will be our next appraisal. 26 is the next appraisal next year, and 27 is when we expect any increases from it, and we're only expecting 1.57%. And most of it is new construction. That's where the change is coming in. It's not because our values will increase in the district. Now, our inside millage will increase some, but that's only 4 mills. It's not, the other mills are about 62 mills. This is our unrestricted grant in aid. This is the money we get from the state, and as you can see, it fluctuates a lot. The significant increase in 2021 is, 2022 is, 2021 is because after the during COVID, state cut the budget. They were expecting a recession, so all of a sudden, around March, they cut the state funding. So it went back to normal in 2022. That's why you see the big increase. The next year, if you look on the right, in 2022, our enrollment was down. We only had 2,500 kids. That's why our state funding decreased. And then it has increased some. So the big increases you're seeing 2.82% and 2.875%, that's for next year. The state is in the budget process, and that's based on what the state has come up with. The House has passed. So they have passed some increases for us. But after that, the state only approves budget for 2 years, so we don't know what will happen in 28, 29. So it's only small increases. It can go up, it can go down, we don't know. That's a big if. And if you look at the enrollment, our enrollment has been going up, and that's why the state is increasing our funding in next 2 years. The number for 2025, 2,575, that's not the actual kids we have in the district. It's what the state is funding us. And the number is from April settlement, the first April settlement. This is the state per pupil funding versus actual service cost. If you look at it, the golden and the green, that's what state's funding us for. And the purple line is how much we're spending per student. We're spending about 13,900 right now in 2025. And it's projected to go up to 16,900 by 2029. State funding is not increasing. So basically, our taxpayers, local taxpayers, are paying the difference. Right now, our taxpayers are paying $11,701 per student to educate them, and by 2029, we expect $14,598 to be paid by our local taxpayers, because we're heavily tax reliant. And on the right-hand side is the graph. It shows how much the state is paying us. Our per pupil funding that under state formula is $805, but then we get some extra funding. Some of that is restricted, like for special education kids, for English learners. Even when we include those, we are only getting $2287 per student right now from the state.
Do you mind if I add a little commentary on
Sure.
that? Like, I will never miss an opportunity to say thank you to the administration and everybody and the board for setting fiscally responsible goals. The fact that we have a 5-star district 2 years in a row and still pay less than what the other school districts pay as a state average per pupil is amazing. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. And these are expenditures. So like any school district, personnel, the salaries and benefits are the biggest expenditures, and then the purchase services. The only big thing in this is debt. We paid off our debt, so there's no more debt expenditures after 2025. That's why you see a reduction, because it's only the other expenditures. And capital outlay, we are planning on doing a Chromebook refresh in 26 and 27, so that's why it's going up. Last time, federal grant paid for it. We don't have any federal money to buy Chromebooks this time, so it will be paid out of a general fund. These are our expenditures, and again, there were numbers. 74% is purple, that's our salaries and expenditures, and then 18% is purchase services. So those are the two big expenditure line items for us. Personnel services, if you look at it, they went down in 2021. That's because that's when we were having levy issues, so there were cuts by the district. Also because of COVID, there were some reductions. The levy passed, first year of collection was 2022, so we brought back the programs that had been cut, transportation. So that's why 2022 went up significantly higher. And after that, it's been about consistent. 2024 is 6.27%, and that's because we had federal ESSER grant that was paying for some of the salaries. It's gone, so the salaries came back to the general fund in 2024. 25 was the new negotiation agreement, and we had a one-time bonus for our teachers if we had the 5-star district, and we are, so that increased the salary some. After that, it's based on historical trend of about 4%. That's what we expect the salaries to go up for the next foreseeable future. We had our negotiated agreements are until 2027, so 28 and 29 are big ifs, but we're assuming it's consistent.
And that 4% is not just salary, it's salary and benefits and the overall.
It's overall,
package.
so
it's not a 4%.
No, the
salary.
salaries are 2 and 2%, and then there are step increases in there, and there are other like one-time bonus because it's still in the contract if we get 5 stars. The employee benefits, there's a big reduction in 2022, and that's because we went to a new health insurance plan. So when we switched, there was a one-time break, but then health insurance went back up, and that's why the increases are. We're expecting health insurance to go up by 8%. That's kind of a national trend, and that's what's driving the employee benefits, which is going up by about I think, is what I have, 5.9%.
But we're still well below what we would have been had that renegotiation not happened, correct? That big switch that
Yeah.
happened in
Yeah, correct.
The next one is purchase services. Purchase services can fluctuate. It depends on what we're buying from. What services are we purchasing from outside of the district? You'll see a big increase in 26, more than its 9.261%. That's because we're expecting our electricity rates to go up. There's a capacity cost kicking in on July 1, which is supposed to increase the electricity by almost 700%. So that's what's kicking.
700%?
They'll look at the month where we use the electricity the most. So let's say at a high school, it would be August, when the AC is kicking in and everything. And based on that, they will charge us for the full 12 months. So they'll look at the highest usage. And like for our stadium, it will be based on when we have football games. But it will be for all 12 months. And it's throughout the state. It's not just us, but we're expecting a 700% increase.
So that's a statewide thing, or that's a DP&L thing?
It's a statewide thing. Everyone is. What I was told is, back in the day, all the power plants started shutting down. So we don't have the capacity to produce enough electricity, and now we have all these data centers coming in Ohio. So the electricity demand has skyrocketed, but we don't have the capacity to produce it. So this is the charge they're charging us to build new power plants.
Of interest, all that delinquent tax money, the biggest delinquency offender to the tune of about $1 million in Greene County alone was DP&L.
Yeah, just our school district. That was just our school district.
But did I understand you correctly? You said they're going to take a look at the highest month of usage and then apply that for the entire year? Is that what you said?
That's correct.
So even if we don't use that much, that's just our rate?
Yeah, the best example is our stadium. We don't use the stadium lights all the time. It's a few months. Like, your football season is the best because it gets darker soon and we're using it. They'll use October or November. October might be the best month because you have football, and they'll use that month's usage and charge it for the full year, 12 months.
That much per month all year?
Yes.
So who decided that? Is that also for us as residential people, same thing, or is this unique to the school system?
I think ours, I'm not sure about residential, but I think ours are supposed to increase, but it's unique to businesses, so school system is one.
So we're paying for stuff we're not actually using.
Yeah.
Great.
That's craziness.
Insane.
And we had a really good deal on our electric rate. It was like 3-point-some cents per kilowatt hour, and no way we'll get that. So that will increase also.
Are we able to renegotiate that like private citizens are?
Yeah, we go through EPC, so it negotiates it for, there are a few hundred school districts in Ohio that uses EPC, so they get the bulk rate for all the school districts.
I gotcha.
And that's how we were able to get such a low rate.
Gotcha. Okay.
You're just full of good news today.
I'm sorry. Hey, the good news is sitting over there.
And we're not even to the good part yet.
Yeah, we're not. Okay. So this is our per pupil expenditures. So right now we're spending about $13,900 in 2025, and it's supposed to go up to $16,993 by 2029. And that's not, adding any new programs or anything. It's just how inflation and inflationary pressures
And electricity.
and electricity.
It's probably hard to guess, but do you think we will still be under the state average per pupil, or we won't
yeah.
know? I would think, that's going up, but it's not drastic. So I would like to assume that we will still continue be paying under the state average for other school districts.
Yeah,
but
I think we're conservative. We're not. It's not like we're budgeting for any big expenditures or anything.
it's just
So as long as we don't need a roof or something, all of a sudden, we'll be under the state average. This is a per pupil expenditures in a different light. So we spend $78 per student per day to educate them. And this is based on a 180-day school year. And the other graph tells us 59% of our funding comes from local taxpayers, that's households, not businesses. And the remaining 41% is from state, business taxpayers, and other sources. Days of cash on hand. Right now we're projecting we'll have 219 days of cash on hand. So if we don't get any receipts, we can survive for 219 days before we run out of cash. As of June 30th, 2025, that's our assumption. And the thing is, now starting next year, we will be spending more than we'll be receiving. So it will start going down. Next year is only 212, but by the end of 2029, we should be at about 124 days of cash on hand.
Because we're toward the back end of the levy.
Yeah, we were on the front end of the levy, so we were increasing, and now we'll go to the back end. Our expenditures are increasing, but as I said earlier, our levies won't increase. So we'll start going down. So we'll be at 124 days in 2029. So the state budget that was passed by the House calls for a 30% cap. It says we can only carry cash up to 30% of our annual expenditures for the last year. So as of whatever we spend as of June 30th, 2025, that's all we can carry in 26, 30% of that. Right now, as you can see, we are carrying more. 30% is about 108 days. We're way higher than 108 days worth of cash. So the state says they'll give us a one-time credit. The taxpayers a one-time credit. So they'll give a reduction in taxes. So we are down to 108 days worth of cash. To reduce our taxes, if this passes, we'll collect less taxes in 26 in the February settlement, and then August 26 settlement, which will be in the fiscal year 27. And the big difference is in general property taxes. If you see them, they go down from 25 million to 18 million, and then they go back up some to 20 million. 55% will be collected in August, is my assumption. So, January in 2026, and then 45 will be in August. That's the 2027. That's why there's some increase. So what that does to us is, like, if you look, we are in a deficit, $5.8 million. So we're running out of cash sooner than later. And by 2029, we're in deficit spending of $6.2 million. And if you look at the fund balance at June 30th for appropriations, we don't have money, $219,000 in deficit. And even if the levy is renewed, we only have $1.39 million, which is not enough. Our one payroll is over $1 million is right now, so it will be way over that $1.39 million. So we won't have any money to even make payroll in July of 2029 if this passes. So now days.
Before we go on, I want to make sure I'm understanding this, and I want to make sure I'm kind of breaking it down for all of you who are kind of might be startled by some of this. So if I'm understanding this right, and this is proposed, this has been through the State House, it is currently in the State Senate. It is being advertised as property tax relief because schools who have more than what they need, that money should be returned to the taxpayers, and that sounds lovely, right? So imagine that you, for your personal household, are given, for us, I'll call it 7 years, because we're on this 7-year levy that we all know about. If I said you only get one amount every year, a fixed income, if you will, for the next 7 years, tell me how much you need. You would tell me more than what you need the first year, because you know 7 years from now things are going to be more expensive, right? You get the same amount every year for 7 years. So you would tell me more than what you need the first couple years, because you know things on year 6 and 7 are going to be very expensive.
Gas and electric.
More expensive, right? So you'd give me the average. You'd give me what year 3.5 would cost, right? And that should stretch you 7. What this proposal is if I'm understanding it correctly, is that, oh, now that you're after year 1, 2, 3, where we are, where we've saved our extra so that we have it for years 5, 6, 7. Oh, you have too much. We're going to take it back. We're going to reduce everyone's taxes in year 3 and 4, which will automatically, now you've taken our savings. You didn't spend it. You're going to take our savings, and now we aren't going to have enough to get through years 5, 6, and 7. Is that check with you? Is that
That's
fair,
exactly what's
broken down on my level? So it sounds lovely when they're talking about tax, but the State House isn't doing any hard work here. They're not trying to slash the state budget to try to help reduce property taxes. They're saying, look, so the state, are not going to fund you, Bellbrook, and also you can't fund yourself, and we're just going to tell you that. sorry about you. And if you need more money, you're gonna have to go to the taxpayers every 1 or 2 years and get tiny, tiny little taxes, and we're gonna be in a levy situation every couple years, because we can't ask for a longer levy, because if we have too much money, because we're saving it for later, they're gonna take it.
Yeah, and it's not even like.
And it's
it-
very
sorry.
hard to explain that, because it's very complicated.
I think you said it so well at one meeting or that last month. You said essentially the district is being penalized for being financially prudent, you know. So basically you very carefully count out how you're going to spend your money, and because of that, they're going to come take it, you know, from you. So if the word I think you said or somebody else said, just spend the money like drunken sailors, then everybody'd be happy, you know.
It's gonna
And,
drive, yeah, it's gonna drive, I'm not saying this is what's gonna happen here, but across the board, it's gonna drive the same behavior that happens with the federal government. That whole, if you don't lose it or use it, you lose it. Because if you have too much money on hand at the end of a year, buy a school bus, because otherwise, like, the state's gonna take it away. So even though you didn't need the school bus until next year, buy it now, because the state's gonna take your money. And it's gonna drive that behavior across the state, because schools aren't gonna have any other option. And especially districts like ours that are so property tax dependent, and have had historically, at least recent history, difficulty passing levies. It's gonna be even more painful for us. So it sounds great as property tax relief. And we as Bellbrook would love some property tax relief in the form of, hey, state, why don't you work on trimming some of your budgets and some of your cash reserves that you have in some of your other programs, like workers'
Rainy
comp
day
and
fund.
whatnot. But they're not doing the hard work there to provide us some money so we can provide property tax relief. That's not how it's going. They're just demanding it of us without any real answer to how we're supposed to fund our schools. So,
Yeah, if you go back to the last slide, if I could, just so the excess or the over-under there for each year. So if you looked at this is the impact of the 30% on our 5-year forecast. If you looked at our real 5-year forecast, next school year, we're projecting a $530,000 surplus, and because the state is going to, quote, refund this to the property owners, we now are almost at a $6 million deficit, where we were thinking, you know, a few months ago, we were in $530,000 in the black. And so it really challenges us of how do we then plan for things, and you either have to increase revenue, you have to decrease expenditures in school districts. So you can't sustain that very long over time here, as you see those big red numbers there, where we were projecting a small in the red in 2027 of 824,000, and there it is, almost over $6.5 million. So again, we've worked extremely hard with the board's leadership on being very financially prudent and very financially fiscally responsible, and they're going to punish us for that. And so right now, this is in the House with 30%. It is now, it was passed in the House at 30%. It is now in the state Senate. So if you would like to reach out to your state senators and let them know, you know, the kind of impact that this is going to have on the school district, because again, anytime you start spending in expenditures, we can't raise a lot of revenue. So if you can't raise revenue, you have to decrease expenditures. And as Mr. Godum said earlier, probably 74%, I think it's 74% of our budget is personnel.
Personnel, salaries.
So in the school district, we're a service industry, we're a service provider. There's only one way or one way to really reduce those expenditures, and that is personnel. And that's not something that we want to do. And so it's really important to let our senators know and our state representatives how horrible this is going to be for our school district and every school district, other school districts too.
Have we projected yet how many we would have to lay off if they actually come with 30%? Are we talking 30 teachers probably?
It's probably somewhere in that range. Yeah.
We can't do that. You guys just added calculus 2.
We need that. Has there been any guidelines to schools that are just going to all of a sudden dump cash and buy things that, I mean, is there any repercussions for that? Have they thought about that?
From what I heard, the state will look at it. So a lot of school districts, what they are doing is they are moving money. So, you know, and we're one of them. Mr. Ackley did a board presentation last board meeting, not last Monday, but one before that, about our district needs. So, we need roofs, we need some HVAC work done, we need about 4
Buses.
buses. So we have big demands, but we've been conservative. We're not we have a PI levy, we're trying to stretch that levy to do those things. And we don't generate enough money to actually do all our needs. So that's an option. Like, we can use some of the funds to fund these permanent improvement.
But they're gonna
projects.
be watching, and we can't go out there and try to skirt a law, right? Like, we can try to be as prudent as possible, but it will drive some behavior across the board. Like I said, I'm not talking about what we are gonna do here in Bellbrook, but just in general.
Right.
And especially when you look at those 7 years and you think about, we try to look at the average and those out years, what years 5, 6, and 7 are gonna look like. Now knowing what inflation has been and how much more years 5, 6, and 7 are compared to where we were when we passed that levy, like, there's a reason that per pupil expenditure is going up, and it's not because we're all of a sudden hiring and spending like sailors. It's because the world is getting that much more expensive.
Right.
So it's a double whammy. But hopefully, I know the state auditors went to the state
The
senate
county
and kind of
auditors.
the county
County
auditors
auditors, yes.
collectively schooled them and said,
It's a
this is
bad
going to be devastating, and I don't know if anyone listened in the state senate, but the folks who understand this the best, the county auditors, I know made a very strong stand against this. Happy news. Thanks for all coming to get happy and be.
It's a test.
Yeah.
um,
So
But this also affects our bond rating, right?
it does. Right now, I had a meeting with one of the bond councils, and they think we can get a higher bond rating. So, if we don't have money, we'll have to borrow money. And bond rating agencies look how much cash we have on hand. 90 days is a base. The higher we have, like right now we're sitting on 200 days, that's what will increase our bond rating. And bond rating means if we borrow money, our taxpayers pay less because the interest rates are lower. So that
It's like
will
your credit
that
score.
will reduce our bond rating, which will mean it will cost us more to borrow money when we have to borrow money.
That's the thing when I was reading about this and trying to get myself smart on it. What's the percentage, once we have what's the percentage where if we get too low, we all of a sudden start getting extra help from the state and being put in watch statuses and emergency statuses, right?
I'll say after 90 days, they look at a 5-year forecast, and once the deficits we have, they will send us a letter saying, hey, what's our plan?
So they want us to
think it's a
have
year
a certain
too.
amount on hand.
Yeah.
But not too much, and if we have too much, they take it. So we have to be in this very, very sweet spot, because if you get too low, we're gonna come in and we're gonna micromanage everything. But if
they
you get
send
too
you a
high,
letter,
we're gonna take
tell
your
them.
money.
Was it 10%?
But if you're not high enough, when you borrow money,
Right.
you're gonna pay a ton of interest.
Right.
Like if we ever needed to build a new school, a new ball field, a new whatever, we would pay extra because we don't have this money on hand because the state took it away. Okay, I'm just making it worse, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't at 10%, or I think that they expect you to have of whatever your yearly operating cost is. It wasn't like 10% they expect you to have, else you go into emergency, I guess, monitoring status.
Yeah, so we'll go into fiscal caution, where they are saying, hey, we're watching you, then we can go into fiscal watch. Like that might be fiscal watch. And then once we go negative, like if you're at that 219,000 negative, that's when we go in fiscal emergency. That's when the state comes in. They take us over. Board doesn't make the decision, the state will make the decision. And most of the decisions are, you increase the class size, you cut the staff. We'll borrow money. They give us money on our state foundation, which is the state aid. So now we're borrowing money on what we get tomorrow. It's like a paycheck advance. Okay, we got money today, we paid our bills, but guess what? We're not going to get money tomorrow because we've already got it today.
Sweet.
So and then we'll have to go for levies. That's what they push for. And eventually, when the levy passes, then we have to pay back our loans, and it will be a higher levy because now we have to pay the loans back, plus we have to still operate going forward.
But it can't be too high of a levy because then we'll get punished again.
Yeah, it still has to be less than 30%, 180.
My gosh, okay.
So this is a day's cash on hand. So 219 days, that's a base, because that's where we assume we'll be at 2025, but then it goes significantly down in 2026, 151 days,
Is this is with the
with the
cap?
30% cap.
This is
Correct.
with-
If the proposal
If the
passes,
proposal
that's
comes
what we're
in, so
looking
at 30% cap, so instead of having 200, I think it was 15, next slide has it, we'll go to 151 days, and by 2029, we only have 14 days of cash. But as I said, payroll is in July 5th, and I don't know if you can even make payroll on 2029. So that's a significant, and here's the slide. So the purple line is where we estimate it to be, and the green line is where we will be if the 30% cap goes in. And you can see, like, it's a snowball effect, like there's a big difference. So based on the levies, I think we'll have to go for more levies more frequently, maybe 2027, because by 2028, we only have 54 days worth of cash left. Because the collection is 1 year behind also, so we have to go for levies more. So we might have to go for a levy in 26 and 20 or 27, and the levy can't be too high. So most likely we'll have to go for a levy every other year. So a levy will help us 2 years, but then we still won't have cash, and we'll have to go for another levy.
Again, this is if this state
30% cap passes.
passes, not,
Not
Ahmed is not saying that we are going
If
to
you're in
go for a
Florida,
levy
like-
every 2
That is
years.
very, very, very different from what we have been planning on all of these years, if this proposal passes.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you look at the purple line, we have enough cash balances after renewal of the levy, so we're not looking at a new levy, at least in a 5-year forecast. So it's a difference between going for a new levy in 26 or 27, or not going until 29 or later. That's all I have. Any questions?
Would you feel comfortable putting this on our website so people can access it? Because it's quite informative, and only the people that can have a stellar memory will recall anything that was up here today. So,
It's in the public content on our
Right.
on board docs right now.
But it'll be
so
kinda
they can
buried.
access it, but it's a little buried.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
so if you can put it.
we'll post it on our website.
yeah, just make it kind of prominent, in your financial section there. So, outstanding. No, thank you for.
Thank you.
So I always
Very good.
try to have succinct summaries because I have a simple brain. So if I can try to summarize all of this and let me know what I get wrong. As we sit right now, we are in very good shape. We are very much on track or better, because we said for a long time that our #1 fiscal goal for the school district is that when the community blessed us with 7 years of money, we were going to make that last more than 7 years. And we've been working that plan for several years now. So right now, as we sit, we are making 7 years of money last more than 7 years. If this mess at the State House gets passed, that completely penalizes our fiscal responsibility and our hard planning, and will be decimating. Is that a good summary?
Yeah,
That-
and it really
Yeah,
takes
well.
the board out of the equation. It's out of our control. All we can do is, talk to our senators, which
All we
doesn't
can do
really.
is decide what to cut. That's
Right.
it.
You had talked about putting together a letter from the board to the state. Was there any more thought given to that by you or anybody else?
I know multiple of us, Dr. Pryor, myself, have reached out
I have
and
as
spoken
well.
with representatives. You have too? Yeah, so
You actually met with them
Yeah.
personally, right?
Right, I did. I met with Brian Lampton, and so we have all tried individually.
The Greene County Superintendents met with Senator Kaler, and again, he gave the impression that some type of cap is going to happen in the Senate side, but what number of days it's going to end up on, I don't know. Again, that was 3 weeks ago or so, so again, who knows if that's has changed or not since then.
What percentage do we currently carry? Are we at
We're almost at 50%.
50%?
any other good news?
Hopefully the purple passes.
Okay, so the 5-year forecast, which again, there was a real one and then a hypothetical proposed one if the bad news happens. The 5-year forecast was moved by Mrs. Dorn and seconded by Mrs. Anderson. Are we ready to call the roll?
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
5 yeses.
Okay, so that takes us into correspondence. Number 3 on our agenda, does anybody have anything that they would like to share, perhaps something that not all of us have already seen? Very good. Now we'll get to some good news. Let's get into some good news recognition.
Okay, now let's do the fun
Appreciate
stuff.
you bearing with us. We are going to welcome up several folks that we would like to honor. And first is our salutatorian for the class of 2025, Darius Gainer. So you have the opportunity, only if you want to say a few words or introduce anybody who came with you.
Thanks to my mom and dad for supporting me. Helping me do this.
And our valedictorian for the class of 2025, Andrew Bruckert. Congratulations, and stay on it. Thank you. Anything you want to say?
Well, the boys' bathrooms up at the stadium are still broken.
Somebody make a note.
Now, at our last meeting, it's in our summer plans to have those
We
remodeled.
talked about it at the last meeting.
So it's remodeled this summer.
Hey, you're not the
You're
first
on.
person to come and complain. It's going to be gone. Up next, something really special. Very impressive young folks. The 2025 Team Soaring for a Cure. And I know we have at least one representative, or a few here. Come on up, please. If you could, it'd be great if somebody could just tell everybody a little bit about what you're able to accomplish. That's for you.
So we led the 2025 Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Bellbrook's second team ever, Soaring for a Cure. Callie and I led about 30 students, and we won Student Visionaries of the Year. We raised about $61,000. My name's Venus Agarwal.
I'm Callie Harnish.
I'm Gigi Billhart.
And I'm Caleb Shaw.
I've seen some of these young ladies come and present at various community meetings that I go to, and they just did a fantastic job. Up next, we would like to honor our All-State Boys Basketball with honorable mention, Austin Webb. Anything you want to say?
Well, thank you to my parents for always being with me, and through all the ups and downs, always sticking with me.
All-State Girls Basketball honorable mention, Lauren Fabric.
I just want to say thank you to my parents and all my coaches I've had over the years for helping me get to this place.
All-State Girls Basketball special mention, Libby Bunsen.
Yeah, I just want to thank my parents as well, and I can't wait for 3 more years at Bellbrook. So.
Up next, we would like to honor, based on the Southwest Ohio Athletic Directors Association, the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association, our athletic director, Mr. Charlie Odell, in recognition of meritorious service, leadership, and special contributions to interscholastic athletics at the state and local level.
I think the coaches, we're tremendous coaches of this community, and the support of the parents and the support of the athletic programs, the whole thing runs because of the support of those groups right there. Thank you.
And we do have 2 honorees to retire, folks who have contributed so much to our district for so long. The first could not be with us tonight, Mrs. Rebecca Mann, who'd spent 22 years teaching in our high school. So she wasn't able to make it, but if we could give her a round of applause. And second, I would like to welcome up Pamela McKeever. Ms. McKeever has spent 24, 25 years? What, 20?
It's, well, 25 years if you count my 7 years. They were two full.
We're counting them. So 25 years serving our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank my family for coming and sitting through the financial report. I've met so many good people driving, co-workers, parents. I've got Cali students that I drove Cali for years, but it's been great. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, flip the page. Okay, is this open communication period? All
No
right.
reports to the board, so
All
yeah.
right, very good. Yep, we have no reports tonight. So your thoughts and comments are welcome during this time, and there is a sign-in sheet for speakers if you didn't see it as you walked in, as I said earlier. When you're given the floor, please share your name, address, and any group affiliation you hold if it's relevant. You will then have 5 minutes for your comments, which should be directed toward the presiding officer, who tonight happens to be me. This time is for the board to listen and absorb, and as such, traditionally, a dialogue is not created in this moment. In case you're wondering, the reason for these policies, which can be read in their entirety on the district's website in policy number 169.91, is to ensure that as many people as possible have the opportunity to speak and that everyone is treated equally and fairly. And I also forgot to say before I read that, we will have no hard feelings whatsoever if anybody wants to excuse themselves, maybe hit up the dairy shed. We totally understand, but we really appreciate everybody coming, so maybe we'll just pause for a second here.
Yeah.
You're welcome to stay for the whole thing. We'd love to have you, but we understand.
So we can use some of that extra money to fix the boys' bathrooms real fast, so he doesn't speak about that as his valedictorian address.
Actually, we are doing interim repairs right there, actually. Put the doors on, but they are going to be being remodeled.
Yeah, I know.
Long overdue.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, we would like to welcome up, we only have one person signed up tonight for public comment. We would like to welcome and give the floor to Meredith Brinegar. Thanks so much for being here. You have 5 minutes.
Hopefully I won't take all 5. How can I do though? I'm Meredith Brinegar, I live here in Bellbrook, and thank you for giving me the chance to speak. I just wanted to let everyone here in the room know that there is going to be a public informational meeting on vouchers. They're kind of calling it Vouchers 101. This coming Monday, May 12th, at the Board of Elections at 7 p.m. And I know some of you, Kevin, I know you said, hey, I think this voucher thing is sort of a distraction because it doesn't really fix everything. I kind of agree and kind of disagree. I agree. It is not far from the only problem that we have with school funding. But I disagree that it's a distraction. I mean, I kind of have this image of like, it feels like public schools are kind of getting attacked from like all different sides. And whether it's the right metaphor is whack-a-mole, let's do this, let's do that, whether it's, let's just, the metaphor sometimes about pulling out rivets out of a plane, maybe you pull out 1 or 2 until eventually everything collapses. And I sort of get that impression. So what I'm going to suggest is that we speak up about any and all opportunities we can. Because, how else are we getting hit other than, vouchers, more money going for private schools and charter schools?
The proposed elimination of the Fair School Funding Plan, lots of unfunded mandates, I'm sure our teachers can speak to that. This cap on carryovers, I mean, that's one of the most immediately catastrophic things. Creation of the due, decreasing power in our elected state school board, it's kind of taking the power away from the people. Proposal now for these ed savings accounts, which can go to, I didn't even learn what this would be for. It's for schools that can't accept vouchers because they're not chartered, right? So they have almost, public schools or private schools have, like, think of like a school like Alter or something like that. They have some accountability. It's not no accountability, but now we could go to schools that have literally almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Clifford, but they have almost, they're very much religious schools that have no real oversight. All of it, what else is going on? Just this increasing reliance on property taxes, and which, hurts people on fixed incomes. And I can't fault them for not wanting to vote a levy in, but it's because the system is broken. But the state does nothing to fix the narrative that people have about schools. You just need to live within your means. We have to tighten our wallets. So should you. And that's just not the full story when we are not allowing our property taxes to increase to be adjusted with inflation, right? So it just gives a bad look to schools that is not really fair or deserved. So they're doing all this, which feels like they're attacking public education, all while they're trying to micromanage us, what teachers can teach, what books we can have in our libraries. And so it's like we're getting hit from all sides. What's happening at the state level here in Ohio kind of feels like it's mirroring what's happening at the federal level. We're villainizing the Department of Education. We're attacking higher ed. And so because of this, I feel like we should be speaking up on any and all of these assaults. I know you guys have talked about putting forward some kind of public statement or some public letter. I encourage you to do so. I also encourage people to think more thoroughly who we're voting into the state house that are making these decisions. Because just calling, yes, I call a lot, absolutely call, but I'm not convinced at this level that calls are enough, which is why, again, I'll encourage you to consider joining the voucher lawsuit. And if the cap passes, maybe it would be well worth your money to spend to join that lawsuit. So thank you, I appreciate your time.
Thank you for your comments today, appreciate it. So with that, we're to the end of our list, and I will close our open communication period for tonight, and we'll move into the superintendent's report.
Back off. All right, so this is a consent agenda, 7A, B, C, and D. So 7A, certificated license employment, resignation, leave of absence, supplemental duty. And I'll explain some more of this once we get through this piece here. So 7B is supplemental duty, pupil activity, central office employment, resignation, leave of absence, and then C is support staff employment, resignation, leave of absence, and then D is substitute employment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Dorn, seconded by Mrs. Anderson. Did I get that right? Yep, okay.
Again, this is for 7E, approval of the consent agenda. So again, there's a long list of here. So again, there are some resignations. There's contracts for certified and classified. Again, automatic non-renewals of our supplementals and our coaches. That happens regardless. That just happens every spring. And then also some hires for next fall, because a lot of those things are starting, at the beginning of the summer. And then also some summer advantage teachers in here for our summer advantage program, and then a substitute.
Anybody have any questions? I know one thing I find interesting is that there was some turnover the last few years, but most heavily due to retirements and whatnot. It seems like that is not the case as much. We're kind of back to normal amount of turnover.
We're at this point in single digits of the number of staff members being replaced. And in the past few years, it's been 25 to 40 folks. So we're down to single digits. So we're in a good place. Really great place.
Hate to see great people go, but I
Yes.
understand well-deserved retirement for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Okay, so consent agenda tonight, A, B, C, D.
Mm-hmm.
7A, 7B, 7C, 7D was moved by Mrs. Dorn, seconded by Mrs. Anderson. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, please call the roll.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor.
Yes.
5 yeses.
The resolution sale of property. Recommend approval to amend motion number 2572 from the April 24, 2025 meeting, authorizing the superintendent, treasurer, and board vice president to enter into negotiations for the sale of Sugar Creek Elementary property to the city of Bellbrook.
I will move that. Moved by Mr. Kinsey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Pryor. This is a request by me. So at our last meeting, that was just us without all the city and the township folks on Monday. So we had two choices before us. Are we going to pursue the general auction option or pursue forming a partnership that includes the city option? I didn't really know which way that vote was going to go, of course. None of us did. And I had checked with our legal counsel many, many months ago, all the way back in October, just to be very transparent that I am a Lions Club member. I would imagine perhaps the Lions Club may have interest in this. Even though she's assured me it is not a conflict of interest for me to participate in anything whatsoever, I still felt the proper thing to do just to be as transparent as possible and to show the importance of ethical responsibilities. I abstained from that vote the last time, and the vote for that authorized the superintendent, treasurer, and president, myself, to negotiate. So now that that vote passed that I abstained from, I would humbly request, again, even though legal counsel says it is no issue at all for me to do so, I just feel it's best if I step away and continue to not be part of any conversation that involves the Lions Club. So that's the request for this. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. Dawn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson.
Yes.
5 yeses.
All right, thank you.
Next up is district handbooks for 25-26 school year. So recommend approval or revisions to the student handbooks in grades K to 12, athletic department handbook, and coaches handbook for the 2025-2026 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Pryor, seconded by Mrs. Dorn.
And so again, mostly minor changes. There are some cell phone changes in there. K to 8, no cell phones, and then 9 to 12, some more restrictions on cell phones. Religious expression days, another state law that has come down, and so that has been put into the handbooks for next school year. Parent Square, which is our new Remind, so our new communications app that will be going on for next school year. And then also adding the sport of bowling for next year. We finally have enough interest in adding that sport, so we'll be having a bowling team next year. And then also adding into the high school and BCI handbooks is allowing water to be taken in there into classrooms.
Thank goodness, because Mr. Ferguson demands those track kids have their water bottles all day before the meet.
And again, the cell phone changes are a result of the state law that we are reacting to. So.
Right.
All right. So please call the roll.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn.
Yes.
5 yeses.
Thank you. C, high school credit recovery. Recommend approval of the 2025 summer credit recovery program at Bellbrook High School, May 28th through June 20th. Cost $100 for half a credit, $200 for one credit or more, and this is instructor Jeanette Tapia at $25 an hour.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Dorn and then Mrs. Anderson.
Again, this is something we've had for the summer for years, so just the same as what we've had in the past.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey.
Yes.
5 yeses.
So extended school year, so recommend approval of 2025 district extended school year held May 26th through June 11th.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Dorn, then Mrs. Anderson.
So again, those students that need some extended school year services, this is hiring some staff, and intervention specialists, general ed teachers, and special needs assistants, up to 20 hours at the 24-25 regular rate of pay.
Please call the roll.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
5 yeses.
Athletic overnight, request approval of camp overnight for high school cheerleaders to Hocking Hill State Park, July 14th to 15th, 2025. Cost per athlete is $150. Parent responsible for transportation. Activities include hiking, practice, and team bonding.
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Anderson, then Mrs. Dorn. Any questions? Call the roll.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor.
Yes.
5 yeses.
Out-of-state travel marching band, recommend approval of out-of-state travel for high school marching band in Indianapolis, Indiana, November 13th through the 15th, 2025, to participate in Bands of America Grand National Competition.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Anderson, then Dr. Pryor.
Again, this is something they've done for years, so same trip.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Dawn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson.
Yes.
5 yeses.
All right, G, donations, acceptance of the following donations with gratitude. Dalton Protection Services, $500 donation to the Stephen Bell Fun Run. And Dr. Annie Pryor, $300 donation to the district academic team.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Dorn, seconded by Mrs. Anderson. Unbelievably generous. from
I didn't
everyone.
realize that would be on the agenda. My daughter loves academic team, and I noticed they were negative on our last budget, and I didn't want them getting in any trouble.
Thank you.
Very generous. Okay. Please call the roll to accept with much gratitude these fine donations.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn.
Yes.
5 yeses.
Some items, information. Again, this week is Staff Appreciation Week, so not only teachers, but all of our staff, classified, our bus drivers, our special needs assistants, custodians, office staff, central office staff, administrators, teachers, counselors. I'm trying not to forget anybody here, but obviously everybody, it's a team effort. And so again, a Staff Appreciation Week. So just a huge thank you to everything that everybody does. And again, a vast majority of the positive things that go on are things that just happen on a minute-by-minute basis or behind the scenes, and that is just the way our staff is of doing what's right for kids. So we really appreciate, want to say thank you to them, to everybody. And then B, graduation. So graduation for the high school is May 17th at 1 o'clock at the stadium. So again, hoping for great weather during that time.
And the rain date is the following day? Is that?
Yes. But we're not talking about that.
I know.
Okay.
Good to
All
know.
right. All right.
If we know it's
Okay.
there, then
Yes.
we won't need to use it.
Yes. All right.
We-
Yes. There we go.
If we don't have it, then it won't be.
Like if you bring your umbrella, it's not going to rain. Right. So yes.
Or an umbrella hat. Okay.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
No, will there be minutes from the Monday meeting on the next agenda?
It will be in the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
Mrs. Dorn, then Mrs. Anderson. Anybody got anything else? All right. Please call the roll to adjourn.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dawn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey.
Yes.
5 yeses.
We are adjourned at 8:03.